This is BFTB's Super Bowl playoff run predictions. These are the current teams that I believe will be in the playoffs when it's all said and done. And this is how I believe it's going to play out. Let's talk about it.
Straighter, not a roundhouse right hand.
And that's what we've been talking about. The straight shot is the one where he gets leverage on it.
I don't want to kill somebody
back
for
a little bit.
seconds.
Nah, I want a body on my record.
Now, I want to see you fight motherfuckers. I do. All right, I'm with you. I'm with you. As long as you're trying to fight the great, the best competition.
Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Yo, it's the best, fight the best. If you ain't with the moto, just click the link, bitch, and get buried like the rest. It ain't gonna work how you want it. These trolls already tried, too many come but don't leave. So if you here, you gotta die. I'm spitting straight facts. These bitches crying cause they hate that. The LDBC's the top topic, bitch, hate that. We the ones that bring the truth to these fans. So while you hate, I'ma laugh and keep counting these bands. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link, get prepared to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you.
Welcome to the graveyard.
Okay. Now, with these 7 teams being 14 teams being the teams for the AFC and the NFC, I believe the AFC is better this year, like overall, than the NFC. And full disclosure, I'm an Eagles fan, diehard Eagles fan, but I'm also not a liar, right? So I believe that the Ravens are the best team in football. And I believe followed behind them is the 49ers. I believe behind the Niners, you have I think the Dolphins. I think those guys are phenomenal. Right now, not talk about their record. I'm just talking about right now. Then behind them, I think it's the Browns. And then behind the Browns, it's the Cowboys. Actually, it's the Lions, then the Cowboys. And I can't stand them. But, that is what it is. I could go down the full list of who I think is the absolute best to the absolute worst. But I digress. This is the standings that they are right now. So let's just run with it, right? The Ravens are going to have a bye. They're not going to play for the first. They're going to have a first round bye, just like the Niners are going to have a first round bye. Right? These two teams are not playing. They're going to be. They have their buys. So what that is going to do is that's going to leave these remaining teams to play each other to see who is going to play who. Right? So you're going to have in the first matchup in the AFC, you'll have the Dolphins versus the Colts, right? You'll have the best seed versus the best remaining seed versus the lowest remaining seed, right? And in this scenario, I believe the Dolphins are just too much. They're just too much, right? So that's going to go ahead and drop the Colts out of the picture. They will no longer be in here. You'll have the Dolphins moving on, right? And on the NFC side, you'll have the Cowboys in a rematch at home against the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I like the Seahawks. I do. I think the Seahawks are a very good team. One of my favorite teams, as a matter of fact. But playing the Cowboys at home, I think is a very difficult scenario for the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to put up a really good game, and they'll be in it all the way to the end. But I believe the Cowboys are going to have just enough to get past the Seahawks. They're going to have just enough, and it's not going to be an easy game. It'll probably be another 20-19 game, 21-23 game, or 22-23 game, something like that. because the Seahawks are going to put up points because you can't stop DK Metcalf. But the Cowboys are going to do enough to win this, and I'm going to pick the Cowboys to move on from this one. I think the Cowboys are going to move on and get into the next round, which then that leaves over in the AFC. It leaves the Chiefs, right, taking on the Bills. I just don't think it's the Chiefs' year anymore, bro. I think the Chiefs are pretty much finished. Yeah, but they got Patrick Mahomes, and they do, but they can't catch anything. they can't catch anything, bro. They can't catch a cold, and it's cold out there in Arrowhead, and they can't catch a cold. So I'm going with the Bills to beat the Chiefs, right? I'm going with the Bills. I think the Bills, they're on the rise right now, right? They're pushing through a lot of things that we would expect them to, with Josh Allen, with all the hype around Josh Allen being this and being that, and he's such the greatest of this and blah, blah, blah. They rate this man as the number 1 quarterback or number 2 or top 3. He's been top 3. Even with a losing record, he was top 3 quarterback. So I think at this particular moment, I think the Bills are just better than the Chiefs. I think they'll beat the Chiefs. And I have the Bills moving forward on with this one, right? In the NFC, you'll have the Lions. You have the Lions versus the Rams. This is actually a really good game, but the Lions are just better, man. They're just better. Now you have the Aaron Donald with the Rams. You have the Rams they're coming on, bro. They're not like they're streaking right now. They're streaking. But I just think the Lions are too much. Yeah, I think the Lions are too much for them, and I think the Lions will end up beating the Rams, and they'll move forward, right? Which will then set us up with the remaining 2 games with the Jaguars and the Browns, and the Buccaneers and the Eagles. The Jaguars are dropping like flies. The Jaguars are dropping like flies, man. Like the Jaguars are lucky they're even there, and that's because of the amount of wins that they built up in the beginning of the season. Right now, the Jaguars are just not good, bro. I get it, they're beating the Panthers, or they're going to beat the Panthers, or whatever the case may be, but the Panthers have what, 1 win? 2 wins? They're supposed to beat the Panthers. So I'm looking at the Jaguars, and I'm just like, bro, this is going to be a scrimmage game for the Browns, who are top 3, top 4 best team in all of football, right? Their defense is absolutely phenomenal. They're going to maul the Jaguars. All right, they're going to beat the brakes off of them badly, very badly. All right, that's going to be a very, very bad beating, which then leaves us with our last 4 teams, right? It leaves us with our last 4 teams. You have the Ravens, you have the Dolphins, you have the Browns, you have the Bills. With the Buccaneers and the Eagles, that is not an easy game for either one. My Eagles can score. They can score, but they can't stop nothing. They can't stop anything. They couldn't stop a fucking clogged up sink, right? They couldn't stop nothing. People just score on them at will. And if the offense doesn't score a lot of points, and it's not the defensive line, it's our secondary. The Eagles secondary is, man, we need DBs like a mug. We need DBs. We need, man, because our Eagles the secondary is just garbage, man. We just get routed. And if we can't, we get routed. Our secondary is not very good at all. Our linebackers are good. Our line is phenomenal. It's our damn secondary. They're horrible. But it is what it is. In this one, I think we're going to be able to put up enough points. Because the Bucks they have Evans, right? They've got a couple of wide receivers, but they don't have the firepower that the other teams have. Right? The other teams got firepower that the Bucks don't necessarily have, and that Buccaneers line is not as good as the other teams' line that are in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with the Eagles in a high scoring game. I think this is probably going to be like 31 35, 31 33, 32, something like that. They're going to put up like 20, 30 points. And I think the Eagles will end up squeaking by on this one. And they'll end up squeaking by, and we'll get the Bucks up out of there. But it is not going to be an easy game, which will leave us the last 4 teams, right? It leaves the last 4 teams, which will give us the Niners and the Cowboys and the Lions and the Eagles, right? So now we get into our brackets, right? So when we get into our brackets, you would think that it looks like this, but the reality is that's not how they play, right? That's not how they play at all. Where the reality is the best team plays the worst team, and then the 2 remaining teams play each other, right? So which would leave the Dolphins, the Bills playing the Bills playing at the Ravens, and the Browns at the Dolphins. That would leave the Niners home, the Lions at the Niners, right? And it would leave the Cowboys at the the Eagles at the Cowboys. This is how these are going to play out right here. These divisional rounds, this is how this is going to play out right here. This is my prediction, right? You're going to have the Ravens versus the Bills, and the Ravens will absolutely obliterate them. They will absolutely obliterate them. I got the Ravens beating the Bills by 20 points. I think the Ravens, who just put up 56 against the Dolphins, I think the Ravens are going to beat the Bills by 20. At a minimum 20, right? I think the Cleveland Browns versus the Dolphins is a very, very dynamic game. Very dynamic game. Cleveland at the Dolphins. The Cleveland don't give a damn. They are monsters. All right, Cleveland is monsters. I got Cleveland moving on to the AFC Championship game, right? I got Cleveland moving on to play the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. That's what I got. I got Cleveland moving on to play the Ravens. The Lions at the Niners is a very, very competitive game. Very competitive. Very competitive. All right. This is not going to be no rout. This is not going to be no blowout. But I think the Niners are just too good. I think they're just too good. I think the Niners are going to beat the Lions, 19-17, 20-17, something like that. They're going to beat them by like a field goal. It's not going to be no rout. It's not going to be no blowout. I think it's going to be differently for the Cowboys and the Eagles. And I am an Eagles diehard fan. But I think the Cowboys are going to blow the Eagles out. I think they're going to put up 40 points on the Eagles. I do. I think they're going to put up 40 on my Eagles, man. I think it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be something that, I'm going to enjoy watching at all. At all, bro. This is not going to be pretty for me. It's not going to be a happy sight. I think the Cowboys are going to destroy my Eagles. I think the Cowboys are going to put up, I think it's going to be like 40 to like 28. I think it'd be like 28 to 40. About 28 to 40. I think they're going to rout my Eagles badly because we can't stop nobody. We could score. We could damn sure score, but we can't stop nobody. All right. So I think the Cowboys being able to get past the Lions, I think that helped them. I think that built some confidence in them that they can beat, a top 2, top 3 team, and the Lions is top 5 without question. So they can beat that team. And I think that right there is going to be like for them, the Cowboys were able to beat the Lions, albeit that play was trash, that call was trash, but they were able to beat them, right? The Eagles lost to Arizona. Now I know Arizona is people crap on Arizona because Arizona's only got so many wins, blah blah blah. But if I'm not mistaken, Arizona beat Niners too, right? Arizona, like they play to a certain style where they're really good. Whatever, it is what it is. But the Cowboys are going to destroy my Eagles. They're going to I think that game in the Ravens game is going to make it look like, oh man, the Cowboys are on there. It's going to be the Cowboys and the Ravens in the Super Bowl, and it will not. It will not. Not to me, it will not. I think the Cowboys are a very good team. I do not like them at all, but I think they're a very good team. But the problem is they'll be playing at San Francisco. That's the problem. They are absolutely horrible on the road. They're trash. All right. At home, they're a totally different team than they are on the road. So they'll be playing in the NFC Championship against the Niners at San Francisco. They are going to get routed. They're going to get routed, man. They're going to get obliterated. Now, I believe they'll be good coming off that destructive victory against my Eagles. I think they'll be good for the first half. I do. I think they'll be good for the first half. I think in the first half, it'll be close, 14-17. That's what I think, 14-17. And then in the second half, they're going to come out there thinking it's going to be too much Dak, too much Dak, too much Dak. They're not going to be running the ball, right? They're not going to be trying to slow the game down and control the pace. No, they're going to be on that high from them destroying the Eagles. So they're going to be on that streak, on that high, and they're going to be trying to smash the gas, try to get Dak to get the CD Lamb, and Dak throwing here, and Dak throwing there, and Dak throwing there, and Dak's going to get picked off, and here a pick off, and here a pick off, and everywhere a pick off. And next thing you know, he's going to throw like 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, and they're going to be down from 17-14 going into the half, and they're going to be down 35-21. And they're going to get absolutely routed 35-21. That's what I'm looking at, the NFC Championship game. The 49ers beating the Cowboys 35-21. 35-21, 40-something, 20, something like that. That's what I see that going to. On the AFC side, I look at that as a whole totally different story. Them Browns ain't no punk, y'all. Yes, they're going into the Ravens to play the MVP, Lamar Jackson, and Zay Flowers, and you got all them boys over there. They got some dogs over there. They got the greatest kicker arguably in NFL history. They got some monsters over there. Yes, they do. But that Browns defense ain't no fucking joke. That Browns defense ain't no motherfucking joke, bro. Ain't no joke. This game is not going to be no rout. It will not be no blowout. It will be very close. And I believe it might come down to a field goal kick at the very end of the game. The very end of the game. And at the very end of the game, I have the Baltimore Ravens beating the Cleveland Browns. Yes, I do. I have the Baltimore Ravens beating the Cleveland Browns 17-14 at the very end of the game on a 14-14 tie game with the closing seconds, with the Ravens beating the Niners with a field goal. With the Ravens beating the Browns in a field goal. That's what I have. I have the Ravens going against the Niners in the Super Bowl in Vegas in a rematch. Everybody's going to be looking at what the Niners just did to the Cowboys and how the Browns played the Ravens, and everybody's like, oh man, the game's going to be a lot closer than the game was that they played before. They're going to be talking about some players that didn't play that are now healthy, and now we've got time for this and we've got time for that. I see it every year. It's going to be the same type of thing. When they play, this is my Super Bowl pick. When they play, it is going to be a knockdown, drag them out defensive game, where this game right here will not look like what it looked like during the year. This game right here will more than likely be a 17-10 Super Bowl victory. Maybe 20-10. I do not see these guys scoring no 30 points. Both of these defenses are phenomenal, both of them, and they know how to game plan with Lamar Jackson. The Niners do now. They do after getting spanked. The Ravens know how to game plan with Purdy because they spanked him already. So now we know how to do this boxing one with Lamar and we have to go a lot of one-on-one, but we're going to rely on our defense with Young and Bosa and the boys to get after Lamar, which they couldn't do in the first game. I believe they will in the Super Bowl. And I don't think it'll be enough. I don't think it'll be enough at all. I have the Baltimore Ravens. Moving on to win the Super Bowl this year. I think the Baltimore Ravens are they're the creme de la creme. They're just that good, man. The Baltimore Ravens are just that good. I think Lamar Jackson will win MVP. He's MVP of the league, and he'll win MVP of the Super Bowl. I think Lamar Jackson, in like a 10-7 type game, is going to do some type of play, some type of run, some type of something, some type of throw or something to somebody. He's going to do something that's going to be the separation in the Super Bowl, which is going to allow the Ravens to move on and win this year's Super Bowl. This is my pick. The Baltimore Ravens winning the Super Bowl this year. This is what I got. The FTB. Shout out to the mighty, mighty LDBC. I'm out.